Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Captain's Table. I'm your host, Captain Beanard, and the topic of discussion today is going to be a review of all the Pokemon that I've used in every single Wi-Fi battle here on YouTube. So I wanted to do this because I've kind of been on a stats kick lately with the end of my BDSP Wi-Fi battle series. So I thought it would be interesting to kind of take a look back over the years and kind of run the numbers for all the Pokemon that I've used in every single one of my Wi-Fi battle series combined. So that's what we're going to be doing today here. As you guys might know, if you've been following me for any length of time, I've had a total of 5 different games that I've had Wi-Fi battles on here on YouTube, and those are as listed in the beautiful low-quality thumbnail as always. So we started out with ORAS, that is Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I actually had Alpha Sapphire, I believe it was, of the two of those games. So that is the tail end of Generation 6. And then we got into Sun and Moon, that's SUMO, that is the front end of Generation 7. Of course, I had Sun, and then we went to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, that's USUM, and that is the tail end of Generation 7, of course. And I had Ultra Sun, obviously, because I had to, stay consistent with Sun. Um, then we had Sword and Shield, that's SWSH, of course, and I had Shield because wrestling, and that was the front end of Generation 8. And then finally, of course, most recently, we have BDSP, Brilliant Diamond, and Shining Pearl. I had, of course, Shining Pearl, and that is the tail end of Generation 8. So, retrospective look here back through the years. So that's what we're going to do. I'm basically just going to focus in on all the Pokemon that I used because it took me a reasonable amount of time to compile this data from my records, since I do kind of keep relatively detailed records of my Pokemon YouTube content for whatever reason. So um, I guess it was finally time to put that to some sort of use here. So yeah, having said all of that, we're going to take a look at that. This is going to be just the Pokemon. I mentioned that because I didn't want to run through the opponents too, because that would have just been ungodly to do that data, and then that would have been a whole another big mess. So the Pokemon is what it's all about, because that is the most important thing at the end of the day. So having said all of that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at what I have compiled for you guys here. So here we go. So I have some general battle statistics here for starters. So, as you can see, I've had a total of 488 different Wi Fi battles with all 5 of those games combined. And of those games, 447 of them were single battles. So, 6v6 singles, as I mentioned in the last video, that is really the gold standard for the channel and for a lot of content creators as well, I believe. That is just the most fun in my opinion. Of course, with the last couple games with the 20-minute battle timer, that has definitely put a damper on that, but still the best battle mode by far, in my opinion. So then we also had, of those 488 battles, we had 23 multi-battles, and this is something that I mentioned in the last video. Unfortunately, haven't got to do any of those much over the last few years, just because it was very impractical to do them in Sword and Shield, and then in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it just wasn't even an option. So yeah, I did used to like multi-battling quite a lot back in the DS days, but unfortunately, it's just something that kind of went by the wayside in the Switch games. Then we have 12 VGC battles, and that was just something I kind of dabbled into in Sword and Shield to kind of break up the content a little bit, get a little bit of variety as far as battle type, and there wasn't really anything else available. Same thing with those 5 doubles battles in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Just wanted to break up the content a little bit, and there wasn't really any other option. And then finally, we did have one battle royale all the way back on Sun and Moon. For those of you who might remember, that was like a gimmicky new type of battle that didn't last very long, which was it's basically a 4-player free for all, which I actually thought was kind of interesting. Um, very chaotic, very unpredictable, very unfair, quite honestly, because you can have three gang up on one, and all that, of course. So, but it was definitely a very interesting concept. So, but yeah, we only managed to do one of those because it was just so chaotic. And then 52 of these games, of course, out of those singles, were actually league games, and that's something that I didn't mention in the last video. But that's something that I really kind of missed in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, is just the fact that there really wasn't any opportunity for me to do league games, because that's just the way it shaked out. I didn't really, there weren't a lot of active leagues that I could find for BDSP, just because so many competitive players decided to stay on Sword and Shield for many reasons that I went over before, not the least of which was the Pokédex. But yeah, so definitely would have liked to get league games on BDSP, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Hopefully it can happen in the future on Scarlet and Violet. So once again, of those 488 battles, I have won 374 of them and lost 114 of them, and that's going to bring my winning percentage to about 77% rounded. So I am pretty happy with that. That is something that I work hard for and strive for. And as I mentioned in the last video, I do at this point post pretty much every game that goes to completion here on the channel. So yeah, it's not trying to make myself look good by any stretch of the imagination. I do try to keep accurate stats and accurate representations of how well the teams and sets I use do, and so to me that means that I must be doing something right. And finally, I have used 221 different Pokemon over the course of those 5 games. So that is something I'm pretty happy with too, because I do strive to get a lot of different Pokemon used. I do, at this point, we're over 900 different Pokemon, and I do like a lot of different Pokemon, and I try to use a lot of different ones, even if they're not very competitively viable. I still try to use them just because if it's something I like and enjoy. Um, so yeah, that pretty much does it for the general stats. So now we're going to get into the meat of this, and that is the Pokemon usage stats. So, um, I compiled, as I said, an extensive list of every single Pokemon that I've used in every single Wi-Fi battle here on YouTube, and we have them listed off here. They are named off individually. Now, as you could probably guess at this point, the codes next to the Pokemon are going to indicate which game series that I used them in, and then the number all the way at the end is going to indicate how many battles they appeared in. So, at the top of this list, this is no surprise, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Goodra. That is my co-captain of my draft league team, the Philadelphia Pidgeys, having appeared on every single rendition of the team, which is the reason for all of the appearances and all the Wi-Fi battles that I've had, since I believe I've participated in 5 different draft leagues at this point. Over the years, I think all in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and Sword and Shield, actually. But yeah, so that is Goodra standing head and shoulders above the rest in terms of games that I used it in. And as a quick reminder, if I brought a Pokemon to a game but did not actually switch it in during that game, I do not count that as an appearance for that Pokemon. So the numbers that I have will reflect that, counting the numbers that way. So, but yeah, I will say, as another little side note, as far as the Goodra goes, one of my favorite Pokemon, obviously, for me to have used it in 84 out of 488 battles here on the channel. One of the kind of little side disappointments of BDSP was the fact that Goodra was not in BDSP, because obviously it's a Generation 6 Pokemon and we only covered Gens 1 through 4. We only got Gens 1 through 4 in BDSP. So unfortunately, the streak that I had of using Goodra in every single Pokemon game that I've battled here on YouTube has been broken. I was pretty disappointed about that for a short period of time. I know it doesn't really matter that much, but I was disappointed in the sense that I wanted to have used it in every single game, in every single game series, I should say. And thanks to BDSP being BDSP, did not get to do that. But um, it is what it is. Still one of my favorites. Still at the top of the mountain there as far as appearances in my games, and can't wait for it to come back in Scarlet and Violet. I know it is one of the confirmed returning Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet, so I'm looking forward to using Goodra once again. So, obviously, next up we're going to have Aggron slash Mega Aggron. That is another tried and true staple of many of my renditions of the Philadelphia Pidgeys Draft League team. And so you can see I've used that on ORAS, USUM, and BDSP for a total of 55 different appearances. Um, and before you guys get worried, don't worry, I'm not going to read off every single Pokemon on this list. That would take way too long, and I'm not interested in wasting your time or mine with that. But the first few here I am going to go over. So, yeah, Aggron is another one of my favorites, and that's why it's up there in appearances so much, even though I only used it on 3 different games. It is definitely one of my favorites. Then coming in next, we have actually the only 2 Pokemon that I've managed to use on all 5 games here on YouTube, and that is going to be, of course, Scizor slash Mega Scizor and Gastrodon. So those are the only 2 Pokemon, as I said, that I've managed to use on Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, Sword and Shield, and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. So those are the 2. That's why they got their own spot on the thumbnail, as you saw a moment ago. And those are, of course, 2 of my favorites as well. Very good as well too, although that's not a prerequisite for me using a Pokemon. As you will see, I do tend to use some not so great Pokemon sometime that I just like. But yeah, and I'm hoping, as another side note, we know that Scizor is confirmed to return in Scarlet and Violet, so we will definitely be keeping the streak alive for Scizor having appeared in every single game that I've played here on YouTube. Gastrodon, I'm a little bit worried at this point because we do not have confirmation whether or not Gastrodon will be returning in Scarlet and Violet yet. I am really hoping that it does so that I can keep the streak alive for Gastrodon as well. But yeah, we will see what happens. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it wasn't there. But even if it's not, hopefully we can get it in some DLC. If they do DLC for Scarlet and Violet, which I'm hoping or assuming they probably will do. So yeah, that's kind of what saved Scizor in Sword and Shield, because I believe Scizor was not available in the main game in Sword and Shield, and then it was part of um, the DLC, so that's what brought it in, and we were able to keep the streak alive there. So yeah, hopefully Gastrodon is in Scarlet and Violet. Will be definitely a little disappointed if it's not, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, filtering down from there, of course we have Cresselia. The only other 2 Pokemon I want to call out specifically, of course, we have the Arcanine and the Snorlax. Those are the only Pokemon besides Goodra that have appeared in 4 out of 5 of my Wi-Fi battle series. So we were able to keep those guys alive, pretty high up there as well. So that is pretty cool. And the list is going to, of course, filter down from there. You can see the absolute laundry list of different Pokemon that I've used over the years here. And of course, which games that I used them in. Obviously, the more battles that I had in each individual game tend to and coordinate with higher number of appearances with the Pokemon, and also higher number of Pokemon used in that game. Um, so yeah, it of course filters down. I got a lot of favorites here toward the top, obviously. Gallade, Incineroar, Talonflame, Alakazam, Pidgeot, um, Como O, even just some Pokemon that I really, really like using. And unfortunately, a lot of these Pokemon being from generations 5 through 8, obviously, have not. Um, been around in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which I think is one of the reasons that I'm looking forward to Scarlet and Violet so much, is just because um, a lot of these Pokemon, so like Talonflame is confirmed for Scarlet and Violet, Como O as well, Pokemon that I really like that I haven't got a chance to use um, in a little while, just because of again BDSP being BDSP and uh, those limitations with the Pokédex. So, but yeah, we're gonna spend a little bit of time scrolling down through this laundry list. There's you're gonna see some Pokemon on here that I have not used in quite a long time. Pokemon that I actually quite like that I haven't got a chance to use in quite some time. One big call out for this is going to be Florges, actually, a Pokemon that I really enjoyed using back in the ORAS and Sun and Moon days. Unfortunately, a Pokemon that has not appeared in a Switch game yet. So it wasn't in Sword and Shield. Obviously, it wasn't in BDSP because it's a Generation 6 Pokemon. So I don't believe it's confirmed for Scarlet and Violet either. So we might have to go another game without it, unfortunately, which would suck. But um, just kind of is what it is at this point. Whereas that's just kind of something we're going to have to deal with, not having the full Pokédex really ever again to work with. It looks like so that is an unfortunate reality of where we are in Pokemon right now, but um, it is something to kind of get used to. Another big call out here, I would say, Sylveon, another Pokemon that I really like to use. Would have really liked to use it on my Evolution team that I finally got around to making on Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but of course was not in that game. But of course, we do know the evolutions are all confirmed to return in Scarlet and Violet. So, as a little teaser for you guys, I do believe I will be making another evolution team again on Scarlet and Violet because I did have a lot of fun with that on BDSP. So I think I'm going to be doing that again. Um, and so yeah, Sylveon will definitely be on it if that's the case, since it is one of the best evolutions there is. But yeah, we also have another call out here is going to be Electros, a Pokemon that I really liked using back in ORAS and USUM. Only Pokemon in the game inherently with no weaknesses at this point. So I really liked using that thing, and I've been disappointed that it has not appeared on a Switch game yet. That is another Pokemon that has been a victim of circumstance. But another bit of good news surrounding that, because Electros has been confirmed for Scarlet and Violet, so I will get a chance to bring Electros back and use it again, which is something I'm looking forward to, because again, another Pokemon that I really enjoyed using. So, moving along. Um, yeah, let's see. We have just gonna scan through here real quick if there's any other call outs for Pokemon that I mean, there are a lot of Pokemon. Most of these Pokemon I do really enjoy using. Um, Alolan Muck actually was a Pokemon that I really enjoyed using back in the Sun Moon and USUM days. I'm not going to hold my breath for that coming back, since I don't even think Standard Muck is confirmed for Scarlet and Violet, so getting the regional variant probably would be a long shot at this point. Type Null, a Pokemon actually that I would love to use again. Used it back in USUM and Sword and Shield quite a bit. Really do like that thing a lot. Hoopa is actually an interesting Pokemon that I haven't used in a long time, since the ORAS days, actually, because it wasn't. I don't think you could get it in Sword and Shield unless you had the paid version of Pokebank and ported it from the DS. I think was the only way you could get it. But I'm not 100% positive on that. But yeah, and obviously it wasn't in BDSP, so that's a Pokemon that I would really like to use again if it's going to be in Scarlet and Violet. I don't know. Maybe there'll be an event for it, or that, or maybe other mythical Pokemon like it. That would be nice. So we'll have to just wait and see on that, I suppose. So, Rotom Mo, actually, that's another one that I haven't used since ORAS. That's a call out because I do actually want to use that thing again. Could have used it actually on the last few games, but just was using different forms of Rotom. I do like Rotom quite a lot, and I like so it's hard for me to say what my favorite form of Rotom is. I think it's tied. Rotom Heat and Rotom Mow are tied for my favorite form of Rotom. I think Rotom Wash is definitely second, primarily just because it's so OP and overused that it kills some of the fun of it for me. But I might very well bring Rotom Mow back on Scarlet and Violet, since we know Rotom's going to be there, and presumably all of its forms will be. So um, yeah, that would be looking forward to that. Um, let's see here. Let's see what else we have here. Um, I don't know if there's much else to call out here. Altaria, actually, there. Well, at the top, yeah. Altaria will be a call out because Altaria is a Pokemon that I actually really, really like the Mega Altaria, the only Dragon Fairy type, I believe, to date in the game. So, I would really like to use that again, but unfortunately, with Megas not being a thing anymore since the Switch, again, not going to hold my breath on that coming back. Um, but yeah, in the regular form of Altaria, just doesn't seem like it's worth using. To me, it's really not that good. But yeah, if they could bring the Mega back, I would use that once again. It's another one of those Pokemon that the Mega kind of made the Pokemon. So, um, Houndoom to a lesser extent. I haven't used Houndoom in a very long time. Again, since ORAS. So, and I do like Houndoom. So, I don't I don't know if Houndoom's confirmed for Scarlet and Violet. I don't think it is, but I'm not positive. But if it does come back, perhaps I will give that a shot again, as it has been a very long time um, since I used it. Um, but yeah, I think let's see here. I think that's probably the only thing I have to call out on this section. We are getting toward the bottom here. We still have a little ways to go, but we're getting there. Um, oh, and as another side note, I will say that I did separate Pokemon with regional variants and forms that were different types. So, like Rotom, for example, I have a different entry for Rotom Wash, Rotom Heat, and Rotom Mow. And then, so like Ninetales, for example, I have a different entry for standard Ninetales and Alolan Ninetales, just because even though technically they are the same Pokédex entry, they are such different Pokemon that obviously you have to count them as such. So, but yeah, just wanted to shout that out briefly. As far as this page goes, Pangoro is another one that I haven't used in a very long time. I could have used it, I suppose, in Sword and Shield. It was in that, but obviously couldn't use it in BDSP. But yeah, that's another one that I may bring back if it is. I don't think it's confirmed for Scarlet and Violet, but if it's there, I might use it. Um, so Shaman, actually, I'll call that out only because it's a Pokemon that I really really like that I finally got to use in BDSP, and I'm hoping that it comes back as an event maybe in Scarlet and Violet, although it's not confirmed. But I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, and I won't hold my breath on that. Um, Volcanion actually is another Pokemon that I haven't used in quite a long time. Obviously, could have used it in Sword. I think I could have used it in Sword and Shield, but I think that was the same situation as Hoopa, where I would have had to like use the paid version of Pokebank to port it from the DS to the Switch, which obviously I didn't do. But yeah, that's another Pokemon I like that I would like to see and use again. Um, so there's that. Um, yeah, I think that's the only call out I have here for that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Kartana, actually, that's another one. I really miss Kartana, actually. That's another Pokemon I really like. Again, I think I could have used it in Sword and Shield, although I didn't get to it. Obviously, couldn't have used it in BDSP. I'm hoping, as a general statement, I will say, I'm kind of hoping that the Ultra Beasts come back in Scarlet and Violet, because there's a lot of them I do like. I like Kartana, Blacephalon, Buzzwole quite a lot. So I'm hoping that the Ultra Beasts come back, but I kind of won't hold my breath on that either. I suppose there's a chance, but who knows? We'll see. Um, Alolan Marowak, that's another call out, another Pokemon I really like, that I would use again, although, again, standard Marowak's not even confirmed for Scarlet and Violet, so I won't hold my breath on getting that back on Scarlet and Violet. Meloetta, kind of the same thing. Really interesting Pokemon that I used quite a while ago on USUM. Would like to use that again, but again, I won't hold my breath as it is a mythical, so I won't hold my breath on that coming back in Scarlet and Violet. Although maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get an event or something. But let's see what we got here. We are getting closer to the bottom here. Um, let's see if there's any other call outs I want to make here. I don't think there's. Well, there's the Buzzwall. We already mentioned that. Haven't used it in a while. Would definitely like that. Just to kind of reiterate, the Ultra Beasts coming back would be cool. I think in Scarlet and Violet, I could do without the Tapus. I will say that I don't really. I know I used. I think I used 3 out of 4 of the Tapus. I think the only one I didn't use was Bulu, but I believe I've used Lele, Finny, and Coco all individually over the years for a little bit for a few games each. I could definitely do without the Tapus because they're generally OP and kind of annoying. So I could definitely do without those. But the Ultra Beasts I would really like to see return in Scarlet and Violet. But Cryogonal, actually, all the way at the bottom, that's another Pokemon that I really like and I haven't used in a while. But once again, it is coming back on Scarlet and Violet confirmed, so might be bringing that back on Scarlet and Violet. And moving along, let's see. Yeah, once again, just an absolute laundry list. Like we said, 221 different Pokemon over the years here on YouTube. 5 different games, 5 different battle series at this point. I don't think I really have a call out. Nihilego, that was another Ultra Beast actually that I neglected to mention, that I really enjoy, and just another hope or fingers crossed moment that I hope the Ultra Beasts come back here on Scarlet and Violet, because I do like them quite a lot. So, but I think that's it for that segment. And let's see here. Now we're into Pokemon that I used a little more recently, and or um, let's see here. Yeah, I don't really think I have anything to call out here on this section, but we're getting down there. We're almost there. Um, choo choo choo. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to call out on this section either. Just again, absolute laundry list of Pokemon here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. Slurpuff, I actually. Yeah, no, Slurpuff is a Pokemon. I hope they bring back in Scarlet and Violet. I don't think it's confirmed yet. So, but yeah, I'd like to see Slurpuff again. That's a Pokemon that kind of grew on me. I didn't really like it at first, but then I ended up using it back on USUM for a little bit, and I did like it. So I hope they bring that back. But again, we don't know yet. All right, that's going to be the end of it. Yeah, so final call outs here. I think the only one I have to call out here is going to be Sharpedo. So, as you will see, all the way at the bottom of the list, we have the Pokemon that I've used in the least amount of games, and that is going to be Sharpedo, having made a mere two appearances on Wi-Fi battles for me total back on Sword and Shield. Um, Reason for that is because it was in that final team that I made on Sword and Shield where I kind of cut myself off early and didn't have as many games with that team because I was looking forward to BDSP and I was ending Sword and Shield so I could start up my BDSP Wi-Fi Battle series about a little under a year ago at this point. Um, so yeah, only got to use Sharpedo in two games. Um, I will say that I would definitely use Sharpedo again just to get a little more use out of it because I really didn't with the only the couple games I had it in. Didn't really get to do too much. I mean, it did, if I remember correctly, did some good things in those games, but yeah, I would like to use it again. So hopefully, once again, it's not confirmed. I don't believe for Scarlet and Violet, but hopefully, if it comes back in Scarlet and Violet, that'd be cool, and then I'd get a chance to use it again. So yeah, that caps off the 221 different Pokemon I used on Sword and Shield. Once again, an absolute laundry list, or I'm sorry, not Sword and Shield, on YouTube. Generally speaking, an absolute laundry list of Pokemon here. Um, to be had. So moving along, we are going to come to Pokemon breakdown by type. So um, coming in at the top, we have water. As you guys know, I use a water type on every single team I make, just because they tend to be very useful. They tend to pair well with just about every other type. So 35 different water types over the years. Then coming in second, we have fire and flying at 26 each. So that's a big drop off. Honestly, as you can see, just due to the fact that like I said, put water on every single team. And then it just kind of filters down from there. We have fighting, psychic next at 24 each. Electric at 23, fairy and steel at 22, and then it filters down as I mentioned all the way to the bottom. And this is a pretty typical breakdown for me, obviously, of the different Pokemon types that I use. So at the bottom, of course, we have Rock at 13, and then the very bottom we have Ice at 10. So yeah, I don't use as many types of or many of those types just because they're not nearly as good for a lot of reasons, especially defensively. Ice obviously being the worst type defensively, with only one resistance, no immunities, and four weaknesses. So I tend not to use nearly as many of those as I do with the other ones. But um, yeah, I try to get a good spread of types because I try to keep things fun and interesting for both myself and you guys. So, yeah, I might use more in the future. We'll see what happens. Although I don't know, as a quick aside for Scarlet and Violet, I did find out just recently that Ice is getting a sizable buff here on Scarlet and Violet. It's getting the Sandstorm treatment in terms of a rock type Pokemon with the Sandstorm up will get a 50% special defense increase, and now an Ice type Pokemon with the Hail up, or the Snowstorm, I should say, because they're changing terminology actually. Will get a 50% physical defense increase, so that's pretty interesting. That's going to make them a little more useful. But yeah, they're changing the terminology. Speaking of that, I believe from hail to snow, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's kind of the type breakdown there. And then lastly, we're going to get to the generational breakdown. And of course, it's going to break along similar lines to what it usually does for most of my summary videos for the end of the battle series. So, Generation 1, 38, all the way at the top there, obviously. Being a Gen 1er, as they call us, that's going to, of course, be at the top of the list overall. Um, Surprisingly, or what might surprise some people, we have Gen 7 coming in second with 32 different Pokemon from that generation. So I did like a lot of Pokemon. That was Sun and Moon. I liked a lot of Pokemon out of that generation, but furthermore, there were also a lot of regional variants that started up that I liked. And I finally did it on this. I know I've been saying this for a while on these stat videos, but I finally did make the change where in this stat count with generation, I did in fact change it to if a Pokemon for the regional variant, I now count that as that generation. So previously, like take Ninetales for example, previously what I was doing was I counted Alolan Ninetales as a Gen 1 Pokemon because it's the same Pokédex entry as Ninetales, which is Gen 1 obviously, but I've decided that wasn't really a fair way to count it because obviously Alolan Ninetales didn't debut in Gen 1, Standard Ninetales did. So I finally separated that in these stats, and going forward I will maintain that separation. So Alolan Ninetales obviously counts as Generation 7 and so forth with all the other regional variants. So, um, but yeah, a lot of Pokemon out of that generation that I liked. Then, of course, next is Gen 4. I've been very vocal about how much I like Gen 4, and I like a lot of the Pokemon that came out of it. And then, I guess surprisingly enough, next you would see Gen 5, because obviously I've been very vocal that Gen 5 was my least favorite generation. Both for game and Pokemon design, but that's coming in tied with Gen 8 actually, which I was very quite fond of, at 28 different Pokemon each. Then falling just short of that, Gen 3 with 27, Gen 6 all the way down at the bottom, toward the bottom with 20, and finally Gen 2 with 18. So I think Gen 6 falls toward the bottom because even though I did like Gen 6, um, there weren't a ton of Pokemon. I think Gen 6 is to date the smallest generation we got, which was only about, it was somewhere between 70 and 80 Pokemon, I want to say, that came out in Gen 8. So, I'm sorry, Gen 6. So, yeah, that was the smallest generation thus far, I believe. So that's down there for that reason. And then Generation 2 was a smaller generation, but also many of the Gen 2 Pokemon I actually didn't like very much. So that's why that's going to be at the bottom there. So, yeah, I think that actually does it for all of the stats. I know that was quite a lot. That was quite a laundry list of numbers there to read off for you guys, but we got through them. So, a few closing remarks here. If you guys have stuck with it, stuck with me for all this, and this turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But that's okay. I could talk forever, as you guys know. Um, so yeah, looking back on over the years, I'm going to be coming up on, I believe in a few months, I'm going to be coming up on my 8 year anniversary on YouTube, which is actually a pretty big milestone for me. I'm pretty pumped up about that. So far, as we just reviewed, 5 different battle series for Wi Fi battles here on YouTube. And yeah, 488 battles in. I think I'm still going strong. I'm still having fun. I hope that I am still entertaining you guys. And yeah, I don't see an end in sight. So I'm just going to keep doing what I do. Heading into Scarlet and Violet, I am pretty excited for that. I hope the game doesn't disappoint. And I hope we can have some more fun Wi-Fi battles on there, and I hope you guys will stick around for that. Last thing is, I do want to pose a question to all of you if you're still listening at this point. I want to pose the question. Now, I just ran through all 221 Pokemon that I've used here on YouTube so far, but I'm going to ask you, the loyal viewer and fan, which of these Pokemon would you like to see me bring back to Wi-Fi battles on Scarlet and Violet? Now I know, unfortunately, not all of these Pokemon are going to be available on Scarlet and Violet. We don't know the full extent of which ones will and which ones won't. But if there are any Pokemon that I've gone over here today that you've seen on the list, whether they be ones that I called out or ones I didn't call out that you like, that you want to see me use again on Scarlet and Violet, leave it in the comments section. Let me know how you guys feel about these Pokemon, which ones do you like, and which ones you'd like to see me use, and I will definitely take it into consideration in future team building. So, but yeah, I think that'll actually do it for me here. So that's it. Thanks for watching again, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, and or subscribe if you did enjoy, and stay tuned for more new videos in the future. As I mentioned, we're going to be a little sparse here while I go through the Scarlet and Violet games. We are actually just a mere few days away at this point from the release of the game, so I'm going to be getting the game on release day, as I mentioned, and then playing it through and hoping to start up Scarlet and Violet Wi-Fi battles in not too long of a time after that. So stay tuned for all that. That's it, and we'll see you next time.